Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fantasy Showdown, presented by Farmers Insurance. I'm your host, Alan Cavanna, and this is the show where our experts here help you with your fantasy picks, and we are getting low and late in our season. So these guys' information and advice helps you more than ever. And really, in our league, we only have one more week before we crown a champion. So this guy to my right, Mike Forde, NASCAR number man, in the lead in our league right now. He's going to help you with your fantasy team, as is Zack Albert, manager of content for the great NASCAR.com. How are you guys doing?
Great. This is the penultimate race of the season. I will be the penultimate warrior.
Penultimate warrior. Nice wrestling reference. Zack,
pun?
I think he's using big words to kind of talk down to you.
Yeah, and I don't know if I can follow that or not, but I mean, I'll do it my best.
Funny.
But yeah.
Let's get right to show you the standings and show you why this guy's riding high. Well, first, last week in Texas, look at the top of the standings. Yours truly, Alan Cavanna, finally got a win, finally got out of the basement in this chase. 449.5 points, followed closely by Paulie Haraka, Mike Forde. Zack didn't have the best week, 277 points, way down in 7th. We'll flip the page to the championship scenario. Right now, Mike Forde, Paulie Haraka are 1-2. If either of them win coming up this week, they win the championship. Then we have Zack in 3rd, who's fighting with our Chuck Bush for a tight battle there. And I'm in 5th. It'd be hard for me to catch him, but at least I'm not last like Mr. David Caravello. Hey, he's not here. We can make fun. We are headed to Phoenix, so we're going to get to our picks. Mr. Forde, we're going to start with you. We always start with our fantasy stud. Who is your fantasy stud for Phoenix?
All right, my fantasy stud, it might be a little bit of a surprising pick, but it's Kevin Harvick, and it's all because of the repave. Last 4 races, all on the new pavement and new layout, actually. He's been phenomenal. Won this race last year, 3 consecutive driver ratings over 100. Always love the driver rating. That usually translates to a top 5, top 10 finish. And you're going to get bonus points, double-digit fast laps run in each of the last 4 races. So Kevin Harvick, kind of still in the championship hunt, but not really. I think he's going to really make a dent into the points lead. I think he's going to have a great race, and I think he may be in a bit of a contention going into Homestead.
Hard to argue with that, especially when you throw all the records out with the repave and reconfiguration. But Zack, you're here for a reason. You have good fantasy advice as well. Who's your fantasy stud for Phoenix?
Well, Alan, I'm going with the chalk this week, and this week at Phoenix, and most weeks actually, it's Jimmy Johnson. He has 4 victories at Phoenix, ranks 1st all-time on the all-time win list there, and has a 6.4 average finish that no one else is even really close to. He's had 16 top 10s rather, in 20 races there, and finished 2nd in the spring. And I realized, last year he crashed out, and fell out of the championship hunt last year, but it's really just an aberration. He's going to be solid again, and going with Jimmy Johnson.
Riding the hot horse there. Now we're moving on to Fantasy Dud. We'll stay with you, Zack. This is a pick, not necessarily a bad driver by any means, but maybe one who doesn't do so well at Phoenix, or who just costs you too much, for your budget. Who are you staying away from for Phoenix, at least?
Yeah, and he's a great driver, but, just at Phoenix, I'm not going to go with Martin Truex Jr. This has not been his best track, and he's just never been able to get really a handle there. Career average finish of 18.4, and it's even worse the last 4 years when he's been with Michael Waltrip Racing. It's even worse at 21.7, and he's led laps in only 2 of the 15 races he's had there, so at the dollar value that he's going to command, I just have to steer clear of Martin Truex this week.
Good research there. Mr. Forde, Mr. Point Leader, who are you staying away from? Which could be almost as important as who you pick.
Yeah, and I honestly, the fan of me hopes I am dead wrong in this, but I'm saying stay away from Matt Kenseth. If he does poorly, Jimmy Johnson's going to run away with it. But this is a really key track for Matt Kenseth, who has not been very good on this new repave. The driver ratings in the last 4 average around 90, very low for someone who costs that much money, and only 15 laps led combined in the last 3 races, so you're not going to get bonus points either. I hope I'm wrong again. I hope he has a great race and he goes into it in the championship hunt in Homestead, but the stats don't say it might not happen.
Moving on, we're going to a plan to perform pick presented by Farmers Insurance. This is a pick, a value pick, really, that maybe you're not going to pay a lot of money, but they're going to get you those bonus points, as Mike Forde likes to go. Maybe they'll have a high driver rating at Phoenix. Who is your Farmers Insurance plan to perform pick for Phoenix?
Okay, this is going to be the milestone man, Jeff Burton, making his 1,000th NASCAR National Series start, 1,000 races. Congratulations to him. His first one way back in Martinsville in 1988. So this is going to be a big weekend for him, a nice celebratory weekend. And he has pretty decent stats at the new track. He finishes up 13th or better in the last 4 races. Finished 4th here in the top 5, the very first reconfigured race at Phoenix. So I think Burton can get you a top 15 finish. He's going to cost you in the 20 range. Pretty decent pick. I think he's going to be good value for the money.
Zach, talking about value, who's your plan to perform pick? Someone you think might surprise us?
Yeah, and I'm going with a guy who's had a really snake-bitten season, but Ford went with him last week, and I'm going with him this week, and it's Denny Hamlin. He has been first, second, and third his last 3 trips out to the desert and has a career average finish of 9.8. And that's about as close as you're going to get to, the performance that Jimmy Johnson is. With as bad as he's been lately, his dollar value is way, way down, and now's the right time to start him if you're ever going to do it. He's performed well at, the similar relatively flat mile track at New Hampshire, and this is a very tempting pick at that low dollar value. So going with Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, it's all about price and value. Again, in our league, we're crowning a champion after this race. So Zach, because he's the contender right here, I want you to assess the chances. Does he man up, or does Paulie Haraka get him?
Gosh, you got to hope, with a nickname like Luke Dog, Mr. Stats, got to go with Mr. Ford.
All right, well, may the best man win. If these guys or you need any more fantasy numbers, advice, news, anything, you can always go on NASCAR.com/fantasy, and we post our last-minute fantasy update the night before the race with all the changes you need to know about for that final lineup change. Only 2 more races to go for your leagues. Remember, these races are important, so good luck. For Mike Forde, for Zack Albert, I'm Alan Cavanna. Have a great weekend.